I just wanted to conclude with just a few words. It's always virtually impossible to try to sum up things at the end of the IMTFI conference. And for those of you who are researchers, we do have tomorrow a closed-door half-day workshop where we'll be doing a lot of work together and brainstorming together. But let me just offer 4 short points and then a challenge. And the challenge really echoes something that Ndunge was just saying. Just some 4 points. The first one I know we're going to do some work on tomorrow, and that's a point about the value of comparison. We've heard from so many cases, from so many different countries, looking at so many different populations and market segments and different technologies, different traditional practices, different new practices. And I think that there's a couple of things that we can do with comparisons. We can look and see what's similar here and there, what's different here and there. Another thing that we can do is we can actually take concepts that emerge in one field site and use them analytically to think about another field site. And borrow from one field site terms or ideas or conceptualizations, even from our informants, the people that we're studying, and use those analytically to cast a new light on the world that we're looking at. And just to give you a very mundane example of that, IMTFI has done that in a way in its interdisciplinarity, because we borrowed a term from business. We borrowed a term and concept from the mobile money and payments industry, the idea of an ecology of services. As you know, most of you in the room who have looked at payments, electronic payments don't really work unless you've got a whole bunch of different access points, a whole bunch of different companies providing point-of-sale terminals, companies providing network coverage, the device manufacturers, telcos, banks, all working together to create what the industry has termed an ecosystem, right? A system of all these different organisms together that have interrelationships and feedback loops. At IMTFI, we took that term and used it to think about everyday people's monetary ecologies, the way that people are living in a world not just of cash and coin and now card and mobile, but of the kind of social currencies that Magdalena talked about, of the kinds of interconnected relationships that Venkata Subramanian talked about, of the really complex worlds of trust and cheating, even with loved ones, that our friends from Nigeria talked about in the examples of fraud often happening with lovers or family members. And those ecologies, those monetary ecologies, really help us see the incredibly diverse monetary life worlds that people exist in, the dynamic interrelationships and the feedback loops in people's financial lives. And I'm thinking back to yesterday's talk about Nepal. When we hear the word ecology, often we think, oh, it's pristine and like a national park or something. But an ecology can also be completely fraught, a complete place that's been changed radically by activities of the past. And I was thinking of the yak paths, the yak trails that were described by Kabir as the place where then these totally bizarre fungus worm things happen. I still don't quite get them, but anyway, these incredibly expensive, valuable things come from. So you're getting value growing out of what is a non-pristine landscape, growing out of a non-pristine ecology. In effect, growing up out of a kind of existing infrastructure, those yak trails, which were meant for one thing, but then provide affordances for whole other kinds of value to come into being. And I think the mobile money story, the payment story is very much like that too. We have a lot of old, clunky infrastructures that then create pathways for new value, not just through the technological innovation, but through people's own innovation as they do new things with those technologies and with those old pathways that their inventors probably never imagined would happen. Just think back to airtime, right? Think back to that initial innovation from the ground of people starting to use airtime credit as a form of money. And you have a sense of what I mean. So that's the first thing, comparison, but also comparison that lets us think about kind of the strange and unexpected things and the overlays and the accretions of different kinds of practices and technologies together in very complex and weird ecologies. The second thing is I think that we had at this forum a very healthy skepticism about financial inclusion, and inequality erupted into the discussion today, I think, in a very productive way. And this makes us think both about that relationship between the 99% and the 1%. It forces us to ask the question of what we think we're doing when we're trying to financially include people, makes us remember that one size doesn't fit all, and really underscores the need for us all to be talking about a responsible financial inclusion. I'll just say that again, a responsible financial inclusion. And I think that, again, going back to this caterpillar fungus trade, maybe we need to think about, with that skepticism, think about the strange pathways and intersections that our work can help illuminate. Some of the ways where something that might start out as part of a financial inclusion agenda can have unintended and quite positive effects. For instance, the empowerment of the visually impaired in Kenya. We need to be attuned to those possibilities and aware of them and ready for spillover effects that we want to nurture in the name of a truly responsible finance. My third point is it really is amazing when you convene a group like this, how just about everybody themselves has their own personal story about money, technology, and financial inclusion. This morning, we heard Andrea's experience about losing her debit card. For instance, a researcher whom I will not name revealed that she actually is functioning as a money guard for a whole community of immigrants in the city where she lives. It just sort of happened. Her husband doesn't know about it, doesn't approve of it. I can't remember if he doesn't approve or doesn't know, but doing it. No Man's mother and her Raska, which she's been doing like forever, which is kind of interesting to know. Not to mention there was I don't know if people heard it in the front, but there was some giggling at the back of the room when this morning the Bombay 5-6 were being discussed by Rosalita and Mary Lou, and something tells me that some people in the room have had experiences with these people, given the things that were being said in the back. So it's amazing that everyone has a story. We are ourselves a rich font of data on money and its technologies. And I think that often, and we don't do this that much, but we ourselves can be a reality check from our personal lives against some of the things that we're saying in our professional lives. And I would just urge everyone to pause and think about that. When you're in a domain where you're being asked to comment professionally about something having to do with money, technology, and financial inclusion, you know that there's the right thing to say, the thing you're expected to say, or the thing you're being brought in to say. But don't forget where you came from at home and what you were actually doing at home yourself, or your mom, or the things your husband doesn't know about, or whatever. So that's always interesting to know. The fourth thing, I love to see the crosstalk and the intersection among the projects, and the way that some of the projects are actually citing other projects and other past IMTFI work. One of the things that I think we've really done, I think we've succeeded in doing, is growing a community of inquiry that is impacting the debate. And this is something we hope can continue beyond the conference, and it's something that we'll be working on tomorrow in our closed-door session. So we have the value of comparison, skepticism about financial inclusion, and building a really responsible financial inclusion, our own stories, and then building on this conversation that we're collectively forging with others. The challenge, of course, this is my final point, and so Len raised this to me during one of the breaks, which is we're really good, we get really good at IMTFI at trucking in complexity, right? We're really good at telling a more complicated story. The challenge is turning that into impact, really getting that heard and having it absorbed. There is no magic formula. But we do have this X factor, right? We do have these instances where we've been able to break through, and our alumni panel yesterday and Ndunge's talk today gave really nice examples of the way that we can bring our complex stories to various forums and get them heard and move the needle with broader constituencies that care about these issues. I think it helps that we are an incredibly diverse group, and that we are building an inclusive conversation on financial inclusion. I think it helps that we are a mixed method interdisciplinary forum, and things like the Consumer Finance Research Methods Toolkit, which we've released, I hope will help further this conversation on methods. And so your challenge is not only, of course, to finish your projects, right? You have to do that. Don't forget, finish your projects. But also to think about how you can translate that insight into impact. So I want to thank everybody here. I want to commend the researchers and the moderators for all the work that you've done leading up to coming here and for all the work that you did today. Thank you all very much. I do want to acknowledge the technical team here in the Student Center. Thank you so much for your work. And also the video team in the back, William and company. Thank you guys so much. This has been streaming while we've been here. There's been 100 some odd people watching throughout the past couple of days. And the videos are posted like now. They're kind of instantaneously being posted. So they'll be up and you can see them. I want to thank again Liz Losh, who has been furiously blogging despite some technical failures. You should do little wrist exercises, and her chronicle of the event will be posted. I do want to also thank all those who have been tweeting. We have a very nice record of what's been going on in the hashtag IMTFI Twitter feed. And the students, Nima, Nandita, and Sean, thank you for everything that you've done. I don't know where you are right now, but thank you. Oh, there you are. Thank you very much. And our postdocs, Minu, Ursula, and Taylor, our timekeeper Taylor here. Thanks so much. Ndungi, thank you for a wonderful conclusion to the event. And John, thank you for keeping the trains running on time in the back and ensuring that everything happens. And last but certainly not least, Jenny Fan, thank you very much. We will have additional opportunities to thank Jenny later on. So I think that Jenny wants me now to tell you that the first... Oh, blah. Yes, well...